Thank you, Tina. Hey, I appreciate that. Just let everybody know that we do broadcast our school board meetings on YouTube channel. So I would encourage everybody, if you don't make our meeting and you want to watch what we do at the meeting, please join us on YouTube channel. And I don't have a clue what the address is, but Tina can tell you what that is, and it works very well. And I believe we even show these after the meeting. If you something happens and you will see what happens, you go back and review what we talk about. So let me just welcome everybody to the regular meeting of the Sand Springs Board of Education. We appreciate the presence of everybody here. Let me remind you that it is a business meeting. We're going to do a few things, some fun things before we get started with the business, but I welcome everybody here, and you're always welcome to join us. So please, if you would, I'll call the meeting to order. If you could call the roll, please.
Gannon.
Here.
Vogel.
Here.
Wagner. Here. Wagers. Here. Mullins.
Here, would you all please join me at the Pledge of Allegiance? I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and the republic for which it stands, one nation, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, thank you. The next item is the opportunity for the public to be heard, and what we ask is that you sign in prior to the meeting, and we give you a 5-minute time limit, but I see nobody has signed up to speak to address the board tonight, so we will move on now to item number 4, which is the fun thing. We get to recognize some outstanding Sandites, so Mr. Gunn.
Right on. Yeah, we're an honor to get to recognize these two guys nominated by Coach Bobby Klink for their achievements in being named to the All-State football team for Oklahoma. And two guys that really did a lot for our program the whole time that they've been here, and have just grown up as incredible young men. I'd say my experience with them is I've had the privilege of being on the sidelines for I think 16 years now with the Sandites, and man, none finer than these two guys in the way that they lead, not just on the field but in the locker room, and really had influence over every kid on that field, and I know through the hallways as well in the classroom. So grateful for these guys, Ty Pennington and Gabe Brown, and their accomplishments. Come on up here, guys. Give you guys these certificates that just they're awarded to you for outstanding achievements and accomplishments in representing Sand Springs Public Schools and the community at large. There's Gabe, there's Ty, and then these will go up. No, they don't see that. Some gift card for you guys too, so you can even stay up here. Don't run off just yet. Man, Coach Klink can probably speak to this even more so, but having this honor to athletes in our schools really brings notoriety to our schools as well. So they represent us beyond just this moment and beyond just having that achievement. But man, it looks good on our resume as a school. And so it really is fantastic that you guys have done so well. And what are your plans for after school here?
What do you call it?
Where are you going?
NSU.
Come on, NSU, going to play some ball, right? Good, you excited about that? Right on. Do you know what you're going to major in yet?
Business. Entrepreneurship.
Entrepreneurship. Very cool. I like that. How about you, bro?
Pitt State.
Pitt State, playing some ball. What are you going to do otherwise? Is there a major?
Yeah, some type of engineering field.
Engineering field. Man, these guys are bright. Here, incredible. Coach, would you like to say a few words? You nominated these guys. Just
First, yeah, how much time you guys have? I'll start with Ty. Ty's just, we've had some incredible success these first couple of years, and I'm like, well, we've got the greatest quarterback in Sand Springs history. Of course, we're going to have some success. And besides all the accolades on the field, he's just an incredible person, incredible young man. And then Gabe Brown's probably one of my favorites because he embodies what we're trying to do with the Sand Springs football program. It was a marathon, not a sprint for him. I mean, it took him a while to get the starting all the time on the field, and it was a position that he didn't really see himself doing it first, but he did it for the best of the team. And now as an all-state football player, he's going to college to play football. So there's not two better ambassadors for this football program. I'm damn proud of him.
it's really excited about this. Coach Klink, would you come on up here for pictures as well? They're going to take some pictures for the social media, newspaper, all that good stuff. And so proud of you guys. I'm excited for your futures. How do we do that?
Gentlemen, 1, 2, 3, and one more. 1, 2, 3. Thank you. Can I just add one thing? So fellas, here's the thing that you need.
Oh, go back up there. We got
She can't go without saying something.
Yeah, but here's,
That's awesome.
hard work does lend itself to opportunities. And so the fact that you have a scholarship that allows you to pursue college is really important. And I can't let it go without saying something about Coach Kling and the leadership you provide for young men that make it a standard for accomplishment. So good job. I'm super proud. I know Mom just came in, so we're going to need another picture.
Rusty Goober,
So get that-
Mom just showed up, so.
Everybody's gonna get a picture of this. Proud.
I think there might be a dad and a brother that might take
Okay.
offense to that comment that Coach Klink said about the best quarterback. I think.
The number seven.
I'm not gonna-
Got it? Right.
Good job, fellas.
Very nice. Very nice. Thank you. Next item is the Senate Pacer Award.
Yes,
We got two of them tonight.
I need Miss Vicky Harbaugh, please. Okay, when I first came to Sand Springs, I'm not an original Sandite. But when the girls started at Limestone, my girls go to Limestone where Vicky teaches. And people, they would talk about Miss Harbaugh. And I was like, Harbaugh? And they were like, no, Harbaugh. And I was just like, who is that? And they're like, and so they would go, to school, teachers would talk about, Vicky Harbaugh. Oh my gosh, Mrs. Harbaugh. Oh my gosh, Mrs. Harbaugh. And I was like, who is this? And so this last year I got to go to fifth grade camp with my fifth grader at the time. And I met Mrs. Harbaugh. And now I get, oh my gosh, Mrs. Harbaugh. And because she is just amazing. Just the first time I met you, I thought, oh my gosh, I just want to hug her. I just want to sit by her every time we had a meal at fifth grade camp. I just thought she was amazing. I can't tell you the number of times she hugged all of these kids that were at fifth grade camp, regardless of how they smelled. And she is absolutely amazing. So it is no shock that you were nominated by Mrs. Lee for the Sandite Peace Center Award. So there's that. And I'm going to read you what she said. Okay, Vicky Harbaugh is a pillar of service at Limestone Technology Academy. She has devoted 42 years to education and puts in not 100, but 110% every single day. She not only works as a special education teacher, she coordinates extra efforts throughout school every year. She heads up our Special Olympics softball team. She coordinates a week-long camp trip for our fifth graders. She helps with high needs behavioral students and tends to our Tier 3 intervention students. She is a pro at handling several situations at once. She recently, without hesitation, flawlessly performed the Heimlich maneuver as a student choked on a piece of candy. This event occurred in the midst of a behavioral situation and our end of the day dismissal. I appreciate the way she remained calm and immediately took care of this child in need. I can only hope that every school has a staff member that is as amazing as Mrs. Vicky Harbaugh. Here.
So it's me here. I said, congratulations, because I hate this. So we had humble, 7% qualities, and
Yes.
it's got flat amazing. I can't say much more. So, I know. Oh, pictures.
We're back in the back of the room here too.
Here we should put gold in the middle. All right, 1, 2, 3, and one more. 1, 2, 3. Thank you. Thank you.
I want to ask one other superstar to come and join me, please, Kim Newport. Kim is a superstar that has been a Sandite for, I don't know how long, but a while. And she just steps up and she just makes things happen wherever she's at. And she's done that for a long time at Sand Springs School. So we appreciate superstar and Jill Sandberg with us tonight. Come and join us, please, because Jill made a nomination. And I'm going to read what Jill wrote and then let Jill share some more things about Kim. She says, Kim is a model professional, someone who demonstrates to anyone in her circle how to handle each and every situation with grace, confidence, and complete professionalism. She never backs down from a challenge and comes to school each day ready to take care of any and all curves that come her way. I guess she hits the curveball very well. I was never able to do that. We count ourselves to be very lucky to work with her. So thank you for what you do. And I tell you what, the Satellite Pace Center Award, it says think beyond. And I can promise you that the superstars of Sand Springs that we get to recognize do it very well. So Kim, thank you for what you do very much. Yeah, please. Yeah.
Kim handles everything that comes. She's our bridge between Sand Springs schools and the Tulsa Board Zone. And we appreciate everything that she does every day. And we do consider ourselves very lucky because she just has this wonderful smile when she comes in. And it doesn't matter what kind of day it's going to be. Boys could be, stirring the pot, 6 ways a Sunday, but she handles it all with absolute, without a batting an eye, and it's fabulous. And she's wonderful to learn from, and I'm so proud to work with her. I'm very lucky.
Photo, 1, 2, 3. And one more. 1, 2, 3. Thank you. Thank you. I couldn't do what I do without my group. Oh, but
Thank you. Congrats. Here's what I would say, because we just recognized 2 individuals that have spent a lifetime in the field of education, specifically in Sand Springs. And both of them have served in a place where they are compassionate about kids with some high needs. And seriously, it takes a special heart to be willing to stay in the game for 40 plus years in a place where a lot of people kind of have an tendency maybe to give up a little bit of hope, and y'all are amazing. So amazing people.
We recognize the support that they have too, and I see the family members and the friends that come to celebrate that. So that adds to the Sandite legacy that we've got. So thank you all very much. Now's the time that if you want to stay, you're welcome to stay and watch our business. But if you want to go do homework or whatever you do when you leave, so. All right, we will now move to item number 6. Ms. Durkin, can you lead us through the staff?
Yes, of course, we start out with the Sandite Successes as a place for you to start with what's going on in our district that really tells the true story. But here we are in the middle of the second semester, beginning in February, and all the work lands on all of us, but Sean's handling, let's see, winter benchmarks, textbook adoption. Jay's here somewhere. We're talking through preparation for spring testing. So herein we start the long second semester where we really get down to the nuts and bolts of making sure kids are getting what they need and we're accountable for their performance. So that's Sean's world. You want to add anything to any of that? It's just been immense and crazy.
We do have a lot going on. We have, like she said, we have Teacher of the Year. And as you can see there's a link in the web file showing our 5 finalists. We'll be announcing the District Teacher of the Year on February 21st, which is also our professional day. And we have a lot of plans for that day. And we have a lot of guest speakers and teachers in our own district that are going to be lending their expertise for several different workshops. And there's just a lot.
Well, I don't think we highlight our teachers enough, and you probably have already seen Dina Meyer's news clip, which was this random lesson, not random lesson, it was lesson, but during the occurrence of an earthquake, where she just happened to be talking about an earthquake, she posted on social media, and then here comes Channel 6, I think it's Fox 23.
Yeah.
We don't tell those stories often enough, I don't think, and that was a bright spot in my week. Here they came. She was a nervous wreck, honestly, about 2 cameras being in her room, and she's teaching a lesson and nervous, but it's just Miss Meyer. She does an amazing job. And then lastly, when it comes to curriculum and teachers and all of those things, the school calendar's on the agenda tonight, guys, for First Read. You all are probably aware of as I've been explaining every month about the need to shift back to that 30-day rule. We're in this predicament that if I didn't recommend that, I wouldn't be recommending something that's fiscally responsible. So there is a need to shift back. So we've had internal discussions about how the camera should or should not look. I mean, we met with SCA today, went through that again. I know they were hopeful about getting Thanksgiving week off. I don't know that that's possible, honestly, in the grand scheme of things. There's 180 days we have to put in, and it has to fit between the 30 days within the first school day in October and the end of the year. We try to get done by Memorial Day. So this is first read. Very open to feedback from the board. We talked through scenarios about how we could do the full week of Thanksgiving. I just am not confident that it's possible with the way it works. I will say this, and we've said it before in terms of summer teaching positions, it is going to be a trick to filling our summer teaching positions for June and July in that short period we're going to have between Memorial Day and when summer school starts in June the following year. So it's where we're at. This is my best recommendation, but definitely want feedback from you all if you have suggestions. And it's first read, so next month you'd be asking me to vote on that.
It's like a very similar calendar days or total days. Next year is what we had this year with the 3 snow days that we had last week. How does that fit into?
So we build in additional snow days with minutes in our calendar. We haven't done the complete math, but I do know we
I
have.
won't do that math.
I'm not going to do that tonight, 'cause that's scary. No, it's not scary. But I know we have 7. So there's 4 additional that we can quote unquote play with that will allow us to still have snow days, but not have to make it up at the end. We do that purposely. There are other districts that don't really do that with their calendar, but it helps us so that when we legitimately call a snow day, we can do it without worry of makeup at the end of the year. So that's very helpful. And I will say, we had just come off a COVID peak last week. You all were watching the weather, as I'm sure I was, and Snowmageddon was supposed to come, but it was supposed to be delivered on Wednesday. And so I hated the fact that we were out Wednesday and then it was dry. That happens occasionally. But I will say this, I think it was a blessing, honestly, to our staff who were COVID exhausted from subbing for each other, covering classes, all those things. That it was a mental break for some people, and I think it's including us. We just feel like we're rapid fire with things coming down the pipe from the State Department of Ed. So I'm pleased, honestly, that we're able to do that without worrying about makeup days at the end of the year. So that concludes that section.
Mr. Durkee on student empowerment and staff empowerment. See, then we'll move on over to item number 7, talk about resource innovation.
Right. So I kind of lump current legislation inside this component just because I think it's applicable here. We do know state revenue is looking good. I think we have to say that it's cautiously good because we're in a place where our collections are pretty steady. I always send you the Vernon Florence newsletter just with all the charts and bells and whistles that he does because it gives you a clear indication of revenue to date, which is helpful. We attended an OASA legislative conference, not last week, but the week before, where we heard from some leaders in the legislature who are pretty dead set in terms of appropriations to take any extra revenue the state might have this year and put it in a rainy day fund, which, there's some pros and cons for sure. We know that it's important to have a fund ready to go in case we have revenue failures. And we all, during my superintendency, have lived through one of those, and it's not fun at all. But it looks like from what we can glean, it's early that we're going to see a flat education budget. We at mid-year adjustment were able to glean about 700,000, a little bit over more dollars than we thought we were going to get. Mr. Watts talked about that at our last board meeting, so that was good. Our enrollment's up, starting to tick up, which is also good. So we're getting closer. I think we're still about 40-ish students down, give or take, depending on enrollment on a given day, from where we were last year at annual statistical report, which is in June. So I think we're on a good path. But we'll see. We're always kind of proceeding with caution. I think one of the good news items on funding is the Red Bud Fund. That was one of the good pieces of legislation last year, and it basically is the equalization piece that allows districts that don't do so well with net assessed value to be able to collect a little bit more money for our building fund. So that was helpful. And our allocation, I think we haven't received it yet. It's been posted. It was $259,000, which should be half of what we'll receive depending on collections funded solely by marijuana tax. So I will say that was one of the good things the legislature did for us. I'm going to talk a little, or let Jeannie talk a little bit. She sent us an update on, she called them bond projects, but most of them are being funded through ESSER money. So Jeannie, if you want to do a brief update on kind of where you're at with that with me projects, you want to kind of get you can do that. Yeah.
Yeah. So we have, as you know, we have an open house tomorrow for the enrollment in child nutrition. It's the first floor, which is kind of a sample floor we did to see what it would look like and if it was acceptable to really dig into more remodeling of that building. We've been very, very happy with the outcome, and we've started. They're probably 75% complete on the second floor, and you'll be able to see that tomorrow when you walk through also. They have all of the plaster done up there in next week. I think they will start the tile on the walls. We're ahead of schedule. And then the floors will come sometime the 1st of March and ready for move-in. I think Dick has found 5 of the 9 rooftop units that he needs. So if the city will allow us to just take over the north side classrooms, Mr. Roder thinks that they can move in over spring break. So that's the plan there. The art wing is moving along. I think it's pretty much done except for the carpet again when that starts. We have the administration exterior sign that should go up within the next couple of weeks. He has all the materials and had called me last week to confirm the paint colors. District-wide energy management. They were trying to find thermostats. I think those have arrived. They have started some wiring in some of the schools. Limestone, I think, Garfield. They've done some work at Northwoods, and they will start going around and installing our new electronic DVC controlled, which will allow us to have more control of the school and more control by one person in the IT department, which is Ryan Danner. We have plans out now for the East Wing, which is a 3-story addition on the east side. We have plans out for the PE gym, which is the new wood floor, upgrading the girls' locker room to girls' wrestling, and then installing 2 more unisex restrooms in there for use. And that space will be used for practice basketball for, I think, both boys and girls. Yeah. And then the last item that we have out to bid is the Angus Cooling Tower. And we have this Wednesday, we have pre-bid meetings on all 3 of those. And then we will receive bids February the 23rd, and we'll have them ready for you for board approval or look at that for our March meeting.
I said this last time we met, but seriously, kudos to Jeannie Kavach because she's been working.
It's been busy.
She's very, very busy, but all of it's going fine. The biggest impetus is getting supply chain materials in, so that causes, but we're on target.
Yes, we are.
In most parts, so that's even good news for us. So, Jumbotron bid, you're good. It's on this agenda.
It is on this night. I would say something about the prequel to you reviewing that. Daktronics had given us a bid of 110,000, which was down from 135, which is normally what they bid. That did not include any of the electrical. the winning bidder was Dick Watts, and his bid was 82,000, which is a lot cheaper. And then the electrical then was on top of that. But that includes, trenching 2 different areas, the data coming from the press box. And then we also we couldn't get around to use the existing conduit over to the west side of the home side. But we were able to come on, there's a pole on the east side behind the visitor center. We were able to drop another pole. PSO is doing that for us. That'll get us closer to the new scoreboard. So then we can take power off of that. So that electrical bid was around, what, 42,000, something like that.
Yeah. The total was 130.
And we still have to get the data back up to the press box. But there is a splice box behind the existing press box. So really we only have to do the conduit over to that splice box.
And that includes removal of those scoreboards.
Yes, it does.
Which wouldn't have been calculated into the first cost.
Right.
We're talking about installation. Okay. Questions for Jeannie?
What's the time frame for that? Do we know? Early summer?
Talked to AD Rod Stitten, and he doesn't want them to start until May.
Early May. Yeah.
So
Soccer is going on. I mean, it's just,
those poles are 4 foot in diameter and 28 feet deep.
pretty big.
They are big.
Seems like a place to get rid of some people.
Did I call you wife?
That sounds like the train station.
So we're gonna move on now, but
Jimmy Hoffa kind of stuff.
Can't live on that.
Jimmy Hoffa kind of stuff.
That's the Yellowstone
Nice.
stuff.
Thank you, Jeannie and Mrs. Durkee.
You're welcome.
Any questions for Ms. Durkee or Jeannie Devach?
I do want to say on item 32, that's the request for the cleaning company for central admin, so the new enrollment center. We lost Jesse Henson, which I emailed you all earlier. His funeral's Friday. He was a long time ago. He's been working for us since 1990, but he's been around for a while. We had his kids in school, grandkids in school. I remember some of those, but he just was loyal. We're going to miss him. I mean, Jay, I feel like had the best relationship with Jesse. They just
He had a good time every day.
did. But he was a fixture, and so
And came back to work with us.
yeah, he's 84. So we'll miss him. The plan is, and Mike's sitting in the back of the room, is to get the company engaged, cleaning that space 3 days a week, pretty deep cleaning, and then we're going to replace that position so that we have a daytime custodian that's around for messes and spills and all those things. So I don't know if Mike, we want to add anything to that or if you have questions about that, but that was a change from when I actually wrote my board notes. So very sad. Lastly, and this is the part I really hate talking about it, but needs to be discussed. I have sent you notification. I know OSSBA is triggering notification to you about some legislation that I feel like is something we have to be on our toes about. We have thought vouchers for ever since I can remember, honestly, when I started getting involved in admin. They're back heavy this week, and we're hearing that they're trying to get it out of Senate committee this week. It's bad. It's bad for public ed. Every dollar that is given to a family for the purpose of a private school, or in this case, for homeschooling, that has zero accountability is bad for kids in public ed, because all those dollars are scraped right off the top. And those are dollars that the formula doesn't get to spread to public schools. We also know that 95%-ish of our kids in the state of Oklahoma go to public schools. And I worry that there's a palette for fear of sounding like my predecessor, dismantlement of public education. It worries me. And so I just think we all need to be aware of things that are happening legislatively. There's a lot of bad bills. 3 I actually attached to the agenda so you can see them. But please pay attention to your OSSBA alerts. I sent out COSA. Honestly, I think COSA, at least on the last one, did a better job of kind of putting together the why behind why we believe the way we believe. And I would call your attention to the map, the regional map that showed the dollars that states around Oklahoma contribute to private school funding. And Kansas and I believe Missouri are zero, and we're the highest at 13 points some odd million. So I've said that to our people. There's a really bad bill about not wanting social emotional learning. Please read it, because in the definition, it talks about just simply civic engagement and not wanting that concept taught in a public school. We teach civics, you guys. And so I think we're in a place where it's time for us to find our voices. And I had this conversation with our team as well. This is something that we believe that works. It's how we have an educated populace. And I promise I won't drone on and on and on, but you'll hear me talk about that you'll hear me talk about that more as the legislative season goes on. So I'll stop there unless you have any questions.
Governor bring it up, this voucher situation today, the state of the state.
He did, actually. COSA came right back and had a statement in reference to, made a comment about his words in State of the State last year was that public schools were the thread of Oklahoma communities, and this year we're all about parent choice and making sure we're, on top of, anyway, it was a kind of a direct opposite of maybe what the State of the State was last year. So I thought she did a really good job in response. I'm more than happy to send you that so you can see the content. And to me, it's worth fighting for. I think making sure every child, we just celebrated 2 teachers that have spent their life making sure every single child in Oklahoma was addressed in their small microcosm of their teaching world. And so why would we buckle on any of that? Because it's important to have an education for all. That's what we do. So I'll stop.
If we can be an advocate for the students and for our school system, well, I think that we need to.
Right.
Have an opportunity.
Agree.
So I encourage everybody to get involved and do what we can to get the word out of what we do as a school district and in our society.
Right.
Make sure that it doesn't erode like it could.
It can.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Any other questions or discussion related to these items? We'll move on to item number 8.
You guys come to the ribbon cutting. That the Enrollment Center has been unbelievable in the opening of just availability of our staff to be there for parents, and then just access in the front of the building so that it's easy. And so I don't know, Carrie, if you have a perspective about it, but
I'm just excited. I'm excited for you all to see it because if you have ever been at the old Enrollment Center, that's not really the first thing that we want parents to see, like when they're moving into Sand Springs. And now I'm like, oh, this is our first stop. We're going right here because it's so great. It's so welcoming. You've got a friendly face that's right there at the front door as soon as you walk in that's going to help you. And we have had people coming in every single day to enroll for not only new move-ins, but transfer students as well. So we're super excited about it. And these 2 have gotten it all decorated up.
decoration.
But it's great. It's great. Our furniture got delivered today, so we're good to go.
It's good. By the way, I pay attention to the lounge area because there's a picture that's, I don't even know how it's heavy, but it's hanging on the faux fireplace, the whole long story, but it'll make sense when you get there. But it's the old rendering of the old Central Elementary, and it was hanging in Jenny Chambers' office back in the day, who was the principal of that site for a long time. Anyway, we have it hanging in the lounge area. It looks great. So it's like a child. Yeah, it looks like a child drawing. You'll see it. It's amazing. So it's old.
Said, Carrie, about being not the picture that we want to have in Sand Springs when they come to schools. And I got to appreciate the city council as well, the potential partnerships we have with them for some future things that may be happening in that area. So thank you, and please address that. So we're excited about we are doing what we can do or getting ready to do.
That was a fun committee to sit on. Of course, you're talking about other people, but the city council and the idea of partnering with the school to have the complement of the triangle with the new entry. And interestingly, I have a really terrible picture of the building in 1920 and how it looked back when the school first opened on the south end. And so, you know, when we finish that project, what you're gonna see is kind of the rebirth of some pretty amazing history. So it's just fun, and they were great in working. Mike Carter did a great job too.
Good idea. It's a real good idea. It's not the first time we've done partnership. We've done when the sixth grade center, and the ECC. Yeah, we've got a history of working together, not only that on our bond issues. And this is, it's really a neat idea whoever come up with it about doing that. I love the design. Did you think of it?
Not take credit, but.
I'm gonna get credit.
Over here.
Well, so the design that you saw, Mike, was really a KKT design. It was just a rendering of what we could do with the front of the building to get the green space back. So having a plaza that's catty corner from the triangle. In our mind, we were thinking herbal affair. Wouldn't it be great if we had a place that would accommodate some city type events?
It adds 100% to downtown Sand Springs, to the triangle, and the whole atmosphere of that will be, not only will it really enhance herbal affair, but I think it will encourage us to do more stuff like that downtown.
Well, so I really wasn't sure if that Brian, I have to mention Brian Jackson because we were at the second, I think, meeting. He said, now, Mr. Turkey, don't you have that rendering? And anyway, so it was, I mean, it was great. The partnership was really great. So it's appreciative of all that.
Any other questions for Mr. Move on to health and safety.
Yeah, so, of course, health and safety meetings go on every month. You can look at letter B and kind of see where Mr. Smith and his committee spent their time this last month. They're always informed. Riley's rule, Kristen, do you want to expand on that? Because that's a new one this year.
Riley's rule, it's been around for sports, and so anybody that's really involved in sports, but what that really means is it's communication between other districts and our districts for students that might have emergency medical needs. So like during a football game, if visiting teams coming, Rod Sitton has faxed or emailed, all that information to the other team. So they know where, you know, the AEDs are, if they have a heart issue, you know, all the emergency equipment, where that kind of stuff is. And so this really just shares it up for sites too. So sites have the ability. So all that's listed in our plan, you can find the plan on our website. And then it's something that sites will start practicing, because if Clyde Boyd Middle School had a choir thing that happened there and other districts were going to choir, then they would have to coordinate and let them know where those emergency type things are and where all that's located. So it's just sharing information with districts, and same if we go to another district, all that's shared. And, you know, if it saves one kid, it's kind of like Vicky tonight. And it was so funny, Terry said, yeah, I think if you save somebody, you have to get up in front of everybody, because, you know, she hates doing that. And I said, yeah, but now she might pause one more second if somebody else needs time with her. But I just said, it's just for safety for our kids. It really is all it's about when you hear Riley's rule. So it's part of a safe
Competition. So where you have multiple schools, you should have gone through a drill so that everyone knows.
right. And it's shared with IMSA, it's shared with the fire, and it's shared with the police also as part of our overall safety plan that we share each year.
The other thing I would say on health and safety, our COVID cases are down. And we are singing hallelujah on that one, because when I really couldn't tell you, we had 195 active cases at one point in January, which means that you're talking staff. And I would say that probably wasn't the highest number just because we were calculating positive tests, but we had more staff out. And so our people, good grief, were so fatigued with covering for each other, and they're champions. They do a great job, but man, it was a trip. So, you know, knock on wood, we're trending down, still trending down. I hear the hospitals are trending down at this point as well. So hopefully we're done for the winter. So leave it at that.
Thank you. Any questions? Additional questions? We'll move on to the consent agenda. We see an item in here that we have any questions about.
Number 20 is just a reminder again, as we're heading tomorrow, but also teacher of the year reception, which is the 21st at 4. And then, finally, this has been on there every month, but the Superintendent Association Conference in Nashville is next week, so it's coming up really fast. And of course, School Board Association Conference is in April. So I'd bring that to your attention. 24 is consent on the first read for the calendar, so it is there as well. And then 25 is the camera upgrade for Clubwood Middle School and Charles Page High School. So I've spoken before how people are a little bit jealous of the quality of camera at the new freshman academy, as they should be. So this is going to help us pay for a changeover to that at both of those large secondary sites. And I think that's it, actually. Unless you have
Any
questions.
questions by anybody on any items on the consent agenda?
I occasionally just like to draw attention, I like, on workers' comp claims, there's none. So that's always phenomenal with as many employees as we have and all of the activity going on. So I think that's great. Also just the vehicle accident reports that we had no accidents to report here. I think that's phenomenal because I understand we have a lot of new bus drivers.
We have a third of our drivers are new.
So that's a big deal.
Yeah.
So training seems to be going well.
Right.
And, just a good job.
Well, and hand it to Jennifer Cummings too. Seriously, she hadn't been here a year. If you think about that, we hired her in March of last year. And so it seems like she's just been around forever. Like she's been a Sandite her whole life and she's done amazing. But it has been a real trick, no doubt, to hire bus drivers and onboard and all of that.
I got a question, maybe you don't know, maybe Mr. Watts would know. Who puts the regulations on who can drive a school bus and who can't?
That comes down federally partially. They lifted some of that. It's through, what's the agency, Gary, that regulates?
DOT,
Yes, DOT.
transportation.
They lifted some of it. I think they don't have to do the under the hood training now, which was a big barrier.
Oh, sure, yeah.
Getting people, trained.
I think I said you could drive once.
Are you at home to?
It's
We could get y'all.
Tell you, you probably don't know, but they know. When I was a junior in high school, I drove my high school bus.
You've got experience. Sign him up.
Believe it or not, every bus that had a student, you had to be junior, senior. Every bus that had a junior, senior driver had 0 problems on their bus.
So
26.
Yeah, that's beside the point.
I wasn't on that time.
Hey, I had to get to and from school, so I might as well let them pay my gas.
So what stage is that in? That's
North
interesting.
Carolina. Yeah. Back in the 80s,
Yeah,
big hair.
in the 80s.
Thank you, Rusty. That's nice catch on that. Any questions on the consent agenda?
Make a motion. We approve the consent agenda.
Got a motion and a second by Mr. Noggle. Any further questions? Call for vote, please.
Gunn.
Aye.
Noggle.
Aye.
Wagner. Aye. Wagers. Aye. Mullen.
Aye.
How do you get someone banned from a school board meeting?
Ban? Do
Yeah.
you want to ban somebody? Possible. Public, we have to let the public come in.
All of them.
Like,
I know.
Item number 27, we have proposed approval to rescind the policy on the fire drill. And
Right,
I understand we got the revised policy.
which has
One
been
that-
policy. Yes, so
Right, so,
that's been in policy. We
Wow.
discovered that we didn't rescind the old one, so this is just an action to rescind what we probably should have. Yeah. We're not lacking fire drill procedures and policy. That's what I'm saying.
Entertain a motion to approve the rescinding of the policy.
I'll make the motion to approve item 27.
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. Call for vote, please.
Gunn.
Aye.
Noggle.
Aye.
Wagner.
Aye.
Wagers.
Aye.
Mullen.
Aye. Item 28, let's look at the bids for the Jumbotron. So Watts, and I would entertain a motion to approve as we already discussed.
I'll make the motion. We approve item 28.
second.
$40,000. Any questions?
Need to say that faster.
No.
I know.
Call for vote, please.
Gunn.
Aye.
Noggle.
Aye.
Wagner.
Aye.
Wagers.
Aye.
Mullen.
Item 29. revised budget.
So Gary may want to address, but every year we revise the budget based on the mid-year adjustment, which is what Gary has done. I have to tell you, it's been a pleasure working with Mr. Watts. I just have so much respect, and I'm just gonna leave it at that. But it's also interesting, different people have different ways. And so there are a couple little differences than what Mr. Morris would have done. So Gary actually put all of the ARA money in the ability appropriated. So we have the ability to encumber if needed. That's the biggest change, Gary, I think. And
Well, actually, Greg had it in there too,
okay,
but we've had some increases. We've
gotcha.
notices,
Right.
so, and I won't repeat what I addressed in my written message to you, except as superintendent has already said, the biggest change is the midterm adjustment. She may not like me to say this, but I think you can expect that our fund balance will probably reduce at the end of this year from last year, but I was just doing a little historical research. The earliest audit that you have on your web file, which was my second year as CFO, your fund balance was $2,300,000. And you'll end this year, real close, probably to 6 million still. So even though we may spend more than we take in, this district is still very financially sound. I think it was 1.7 million when I actually started.
I gasped, honestly.
It's not me, it's Snow, as tight as will be. He's not here, we can talk about it. She's pretty tight too.
There's no snitches here.
But you have to remember, my first year was born with a revenue failure. That's what I walked into my first year. And so we had an allocation.
Get you along.
Yeah, but that wasn't my fault. But it was nerve wracking knowing you go into a year and all of a sudden what they promise that you're going to have, you don't. And so you learn really quickly, let's make sure we're stocking a little back for rainy days. And so we're in this place where, we had mass exodus to Epic and homeschool and all those things with COVID. Well, we don't have to worry about that. So, you do this roller coaster thing with finance and you work really hard to forecast so that you don't have to worry. The last thing I want to do is go to bed and have to worry about how we're going to pay our people. So that's not going to happen. And then I'm toolish because I need to not sleep. So.
Is there a motion to approve the revised budget?
I'll make that motion.
I'll say,
There's a motion and a second. Any questions? Call the roll, please.
Gunn.
Aye.
Noggle.
Aye.
Wagner.
Aye.
Wagers.
Aye.
Vaughn.
Aye. Item number 30, the acceptance of the E-rate bids for the 22-23 school year.
So as you probably know, E-Rate helps us fund a lot of things technology, including network infrastructure. Exactly. And so one of the things I think you have to link into the idea of calendar and that low income report that I keep harping on. I had the realization really this year that they pull the low income report and that affects the amount of reimbursement. It's not really
That's my
reimbursement.
discount rate on the networking equipment and services. And if you know anything at all about that, it's really expensive.
Well, right now we're funded to 80%.
80%.
And so anytime your low income report drops, then all of a sudden the percentage that you're funded drops as well. And so in 20% increments.
Yes.
So it would drop from 80 to 60, and that's really scary. So not only do we want our Title I money, we also would like to get some discounts on everything infrastructure for technology as well. So Tina's the gal, she's the expert on questions. So if you have any questions, let her know. That's what that is.
Honestly, the district was set up in a really good 5-year renewal cycle, which plays well with E-rate because E-rate allotments are done in 5-year increments. We had a fantastic legislative change as it applies to E-rate last year, where we get to have a district budget now as opposed to individual site-based budgets, which is good news for all of us because that means if I bought something for Charles Page, it doesn't have to physically stay at Charles Page for 5 years before it can be moved to another site. So if I have a site that's hurting a little more in terms of infrastructure update, I can move that equipment as necessary and I'm not locked in for a 5-year period after it's purchased. So it's great news for maneuvering things within the district to make sure everybody is in the same spot technology wise, which is more reliable and consistent connections for our kiddos and our teachers. And so this year, they also made a change that for category 1 filing, that is not on your board agenda because I didn't have to rebid my category 1 filing. I could re-sign the contract so long as we were happy with our internet connections and speed. And then I also did not have to rebid our MIBS contract, which basically works as our network administrator. Since we do not have a fully credentialed network administrator on staff, we contract that out. So those two things didn't have to be rebid, just our category 2 hardware and installation, which is what you're looking at and what that contract I'm asking for approval to sign off on is.
Very good. Thank you, Dana. Appreciate that. Any questions? Call for a motion to approve the E-rate contract.
I'll make a motion.
I'll second.
Motion and second for the questions. Call for vote, please.
Gunn.
Aye.
Noggle.
Aye.
Wagner.
Aye.
Wagers.
Aye.
Mullins.
Aye. Item number 31.
So just a reminder, and it's not on the future dates, but this is approval to sell our bonds that. And so we structured it, which is a little bit different than what we usually do for March the 7th prior to our evening board meeting. So that meeting is scheduled for 6:30 and the regular board meeting is 7. So typically we do those at noon. So I just want to bring that to your attention. We're going to need everybody. Oh, you helps too. All hands on deck in March. I don't want to be here, so yeah.
Right, Mike. I brought up the point I was thinking all along.
What's that?
Just cheap, didn't want to feed us lunch.
Maybe. Y'all come, yeah, I'm gonna
Exactly.
still leave it at that.
I entertain a motion to have a special board meeting at 6:30 on March the 7th. To,
Make that motion.
Second. I even told Beth that. or he-
I didn't hear the first one. Who said that?
wait a minute. Any questions? Call for a vote, please.
Gunn. Noggle.
Aye.
Wagner. Wagers.
Aye.
Mullins.
Aye.
I told Beth that what she said to do.
Really?
Cheap, didn't want to cheat.
32. Approve a contract with Final Touch Commercial Cleaning Company. For the
I'll make a motion to accept item 32 as stated.
second, got a motion and a second. Any questions?
Really.
Call for vote, please.
Gunn.
Aye.
Noggle.
Aye.
Wagner.
Aye.
Wagers.
Aye.
Mullins.
Aye. Item number 33, a proposed executive session to discuss any new employees.
Can I suggest we put item 33 and 35 together? Can we do that, Mr. Watts?
You do that? Yes.
I want to get my report.
Got a motion. Got a motion to move to executive session to discuss the employment of the individuals or the positions listed and also to evaluate our superintendent.
Second that motion.
Got a motion and a second. Call for vote, please.
Who did the motion? Gunn.
Aye.
Noggle.
Aye.
Wagner.
Aye.
Wagers.
Aye.
Mullins.
Aye. We will adjourn to that room for a while, then we'll be right back.
I'm going to work.
I'll tell you all.
Okay.
Everybody, or just me? Thank you all. We don't have to vote to rejoin normal session, so we will just go back into regular session. During the session back there, we just discussed the superintendent evaluation. We talked about the employees, and seeing that, we will move to item number 34.
Move to propose employment of the following individuals.
Second.
We got a motion and a second. Any questions? Call for a vote, please.
Jen.
Aye.
Muggle.
Aye.
Wagon.
Aye.
Mullin.
Hi, item 35, we already did that, and we have we evaluate the superintendent 3 times a year. We do about 3 or 4 questions each time, and I will compile all of the evaluations from the board members. I will turn that into Ms. Sturkey soon. So with that, we'll move on to item number 1 that says any matter that could not have been discussed or brought before it. Seeing none. Any announcements?
No announcements.
Just make a
Okay, you would make a motion?
turn, please.
Okay. Call for the vote, please.
Jen.
Aye.
Muggle.
Aye.
Wagon. Aye. Wager.
Aye.
Mullin.
Thank you all very much.
Thank you.
See